so close, and I don't wanna take you traveling the world, but I can love you. Yeah, I'm gonna love you. I can give you love. All I got is fancy fines, baby, I have not. Gonna love you. Yeah, I'm gonna love you. I'm gonna love you, baby. Last night, oh God.
If that doesn't get you hyped up, I don't know what will, and you might be in the wrong place. I'm Control Pairs. I play the most immersive PC games in the world. This is DCS World, and this is the first video that I'll be doing with the Supercarrier module. This is actually a strike mission where my wingman and I are going to be launching from the deck of the USS Theodore Roosevelt and then traveling to Iranian airspace, locating and dropping a couple of precision-guided munitions in the form of a GBU-12 laser-guided bomb with the lightning targeting pod onto a couple of Russian bombers and a MiG-29, as well as a structure that have been located at this Iranian airbase. And as we can see by the buildup of that combat power, there's some intermingling going on between the Iranians and the Russians as tensions in the region rise. So here we are, parked in the Strait of Hormuz, preparing to launch and begin an air campaign against that regime. So that's the scenario, that's the backdrop of this whole thing. I used the Matt Wagner YouTube tutorial on how to set up the Supercarrier mission. In reality, this is kind of a test. So I populated this deck myself. I set up all of the tracks. I put a tanker in the overhead. I put AWACS in the overhead. We'll pause here momentarily and watch the wingman launch. Shooter has our afterburners at full. We get the command to fire, and off we go. So courtesy of Matt Wagner, I've made this mission. It's super simple. Just a quick launch. No real threats that we need to be crazy concerned about. But we'll go ahead and travel over to the Iranian shore, locate our targets, drop some bombs, get some gas from the tanker on the way back, and then finally land back on board the aircraft carrier. As you can see, I've activated my FLIR, my lightning targeting pod. I've lased my target. I am 6 seconds from release as indicated on the HUD. That bar indicates where the bomb is going to be released. I'm now depressing the pickle button, and pickle. We have one GBU-12 away. If you look down at the lightning targeting pod in the bottom right, I've now activated my laser. My laser is firing, and that GBU-12 has found its mark on that Russian bomber on the ramp. Here we are stepping to the next GBU-12. I'm going back and I'm inputting the laser code of 1688 so that my GBU-12 is tracking the laser that I fire using that lightning targeting pod. On the right side of the screen now you see I've located the second bomber. I've lined myself up for another run. I'm 5 seconds from release. Now we're looking on the HUD. You see that bar moving from north to south, crossing my velocity indicator right now, and pickle. We have another GBU-12 away from the aircraft. And again, we're firing that laser. That lightning targeting pod is now guiding that bomb down to that aircraft. And sure enough, we have another good impact and another Tu-95 Bear destroyed. Finally, we've located a MiG-29 on the ramp. We drop a bomb on that guy, and then finally we destroy the hangar in a fourth pass, having successfully destroyed both of the bombers as well as that MiG-29 and a structure on the ramp of that Iranian airfield. We're now clearing Iranian airspace, so I've reached out to Arco, which is a tanker that has also launched from the aircraft carrier. Arco 1-1, that tanker is telling me to move to him at 22,000 feet. He gave me a bearing to locate him. I've then looked down on the SA page, the situational awareness page of my FA-18C Hornet, and I found him. And we've got a 30 or 40 mile flight over to where he was at least. Here you see we've located him. We get him all nice and lined up. And I've actually left all of the pre-contact maneuvering of this refuel up. Refueling something in DCS World that's really challenging. Of course, the veterans of the game who are watching this understand exactly how difficult it is. And it's something that I've struggled with quite a bit. I was really proud because in this effort I managed to match speed and pitch. And on a very first attempt, I got the plug and I started taking fuel. If you look down towards the bottom of the screen where you see in the red area, I've got 4,400 pounds of fuel left. That's probably enough to land, but I wanted to make sure I got myself up to 7,000 or 8,000 pounds of gas so that I would have enough gas to do a go-around or two on the aircraft carrier, because I also suck at landing on aircraft carriers. And here we are traveling just under 200 knots at an altitude of 22,600 feet indicated above sea level, trying to get this fuel probe into the basket, and sure enough, on a first attempt, I managed to get contact and start taking gas. You can see the gas is now starting to flow up there on the bottom left, as well as the FPAS page on the right, DDI. Like I said, I'm only sticking around to get a couple thousand pounds of gas, just enough to secure a couple go-arounds on the carrier if I need to. What's even more or as challenging as getting the plug is maintaining this type formation, especially as the tanker kind of bobs and weaves, and especially because we've got turbulence coming off of the engines, wake turbulence coming off of the engines of this aircraft that we're flying with. Pretty cool that in the Supercarrier module, I actually told this aircraft to take off from aboard the Supercarrier module and go into this orbit. So this was all part of the mission design that I created. DCS World's an excellent playground for creative folks who want to make interesting missions like that. I'm in the infancy of learning how to do those things, but I am very much enjoying learning how to do it. And this experience here, you know, is a couple hours of flight, 30 or 40 minutes of mission design, and it's a pretty special experience that I can now provide my friends by sharing this mission file. On the radio now, I've contacted Mother, which is the USS Theodore Roosevelt. I'm getting some information from their tower right now. I got a weather update as well as where the cloud deck's at and what kind of recovery they're expecting. So they're saying a Case 1 recovery, which is a traditional good weather recovery aboard an aircraft carrier right now. I am 10 miles out from callsign Rough Rider, the USS Theodore Roosevelt, and I've contacted them once more to say I'm 10 miles out. I've got 6,300 pounds of gas left, and I'm reducing my altitude now to about 1,000 feet, radar indicated above the sea. I'm going to fly along the right side of that carrier deck at about 1,000 feet, 350 knots, and move into a Case 1 recovery pattern. The tower has now said signal is Charlie, which is my signal to begin that Case 1 recovery. So now the boat's ready to receive me. I'm ready to go. I've got my TACAN on, my instrument carrier landing system on. I'm flying that 1,000 feet, 350 knots off of the stern of the ship. I look down to ensure that the deck is clear. And now as soon as we are 1 mile from the aircraft carrier right now, we will go into the brake and begin a left-hand brake, pulling back to where our G's are 1% of our indicated airspeed. We're also going throttle to idle, and I'm watching my airspeed, and as soon as it drops below 250 knots, I'm going to lower my gear and lower my flaps. Of course, my arresting hook is already down. And just to remind everybody, I've only been playing DCS for a few weeks, and I'm terrible at this. But I'm kind of proud of the fact that I can actually, you know, do some air-to-air refueling and do some carrier landings, even though, as you're about to see, it's a little questionable. I positioned this Arleigh Burke class ship off of my left wing that we're flying over right now, off the port side of the USS Theodore Roosevelt to help me line up my landing. And now that I'm in the downwind leg, I'm making sure my velocity vector indicator, which is that little circle, that pip on the HUD, is centered somewhere along the E bracket that is just to its left. That means that I have achieved an effective on-speed angle of attack. Once I achieve that on-speed angle of attack by adjusting my trim, I will no longer use this stick to raise my nose or lower it. Instead, I will use the throttle to raise and lower my nose. So I'll add power if I need to go higher, and I'll reduce power if I need to go lower. That is because on the F-18 Hornet, whenever you land on the carrier deck, the aircraft's angle of attack needs to be such that the arresting hook will actually catch a wire. And so that E bracket is a visual representation of your likelihood of catching a wire. And as long as my velocity vector indicator is there, and I follow my instrument carrier landing system and put the aircraft down where it's supposed to be on the boat, I will catch a wire, hopefully. Although, you know, you're about to see how well that goes. All right, I am beginning my final turn. I'm about to enter into the groove, which is the short final for approach on the aircraft carrier in a Case 1 recovery. I take a quick peek off of the left of my nose, make sure that I can see the aircraft carrier over there. Indeed, I can. I'm currently 2 miles behind her. I'm actually coming out of the turn a little bit too quick, which means I'm going to be left of lineup. I mapped call the ball to my keyboard. So I press B to call the ball. Now I have that graphic indicator of the floss on the left side of the screen. That yellow dot in the center should be lined up with those green horizontal lines. Right now it's basically saying that I'm a little bit high. That's also indicated on the instrument carrier landing system, which is on the HUD. The fact that my velocity vector indicator is above that horizontal line means I am too high. The fact that it is left of the vertical line means that I'm lined up left. But I'm also monitoring my speed, I'm monitoring my angle of attack. There's so many things going through a pilot's head at this point in the lineup. And sure enough, I am left of lineup right now. I'm trying desperately to get back on lineup, and I'm also really, really, really high. So I'm going to have to carefully cut power, and I'm going to have to adjust back to the right here at the last minute. See if we can get down and catch an arresting wire. See how it goes. That's my radar altimeter telling me I'm below 270 feet. No issues. Nose is down. Add power. Ooh, hitting hard, bounce, but nonetheless, that arresting hook managed to catch a 3-wire. So I came down in front of the 1-wire, bounced a little bit, caught a 3-wire, and any landing you can walk away from is a good landing. First thing we do as soon as we're on the boat is raise the hook, fold the wings, and get off of that landing area so the next aircraft can come in. If you enjoyed this, stay tuned. I'll be back to my Learning to Fly in DCS World Series, but I had to take a quick break from that and share with you guys the Supercarrier module. As always, a huge shout out to Will Foes, who supports the channel at the premium level and is also my DCS buddy who's taught me so much in this game already. If you'd like to support the channel, I hope you'll consider clicking the join button below so you can see exactly how to do that. Until next time, I'm Controlled Pairs, play the most immersive PC games in the world, and I'll see you in the next one.